Thanks,
Good
man.
evening, everyone. My name is Arthur Autumn from Electric Moon here. Welcome to the Artist to Artist show, episode 3. So very excited to have our next guest on tonight, Mr. Brett Mitchell, songwriter, multi instrumentalist from Michigan. He's a brilliant guy. We've been friends for quite some time now, and it's an honor to have him on. So let's say hello. We're going to talk about the creative process, our muse, how we come up with the work that we do, where it comes from, things like that, and just random other goodies. And without further ado, Mr. Brett Mitchell, everybody.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
How are you, man?
Good. Thanks for
Oh,
having me.
yeah, I'm happy that you're here.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad it worked out and we pulled it off, or at least I pulled it off.
Yeah, we made it happen
Yeah,
somehow. Yeah, how
somehow.
was how was everything in Michigan? Everybody's good. Everybody's healthy, strong.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it seems like everything's kind of, I mean, obviously in the wintertime, things slow down a little bit. I live in a, small kind of summer town. So,
Yeah.
things slow down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we're getting a little tiny snow here and there, but nothing too crazy yet. But
No,
I'm
you're
sure it's,
pretty far up north, right?
yeah, so I'm like, if you think about like Traverse City area, I'm about like 45 minutes northeast of
Okay.
Traverse City, so up near Torch Lake area. So it's
And
up
you moved up
there.
there what, like a year ago or so?
No, I've actually been, well, I moved up here from downstate. I was, originally from Midland area,
Yeah.
when we met. That was like 2013. So I've been
Okay.
up here for about 8 years. But
Wow.
in Bel Air, I've lived in Bel Air for about 5 years. So, but you know how it goes. Like, well, it's different for you. I know that you're just in the middle of it, so it's all around you. But
Yeah.
I have to travel a lot, so a lot of times the my home base can be, it's a tiny little village that I like it. It's just
Great.
chill. But
And you got a studio set up over there and everything?
yeah, well, if you want to call it, like, it's nothing like this, like, uh this is actually like a real deal studio. But um I basically decided there was an extra room that I thought this is probably good be good enough to at least record, like, acoustic guitar and a little bit of
Yeah.
vocals and stuff. And I've seen some people that make their own, and it's like a little closet or a little office. So I'm like, oh yeah, I could do this.
I
So
tell you
that's just
what,
what I did. Yeah.
that's all it takes though, man. You
Yeah.
could do the whole thing on a 4 track. I think so who was it? I think Butch Walker did something like that
I don't
recently. Are you familiar with Butch?
I don't that doesn't ring a bell. No.
Well,
Newer
Butch,
artist?
well, Butch Walker was from the Marvelous Three,
Okay.
and he went on to be a huge producer out
Oh,
here,
okay.
like big time. But anyway, he did something I think straight up on his 4 track where he started,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
many
yeah.
many years ago, and recorded the whole record. I mean, that's all you really need. I mean,
Yeah.
the shoes don't make the man. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like you just need a guitar, a microphone, Tascam, your phone,
Yeah.
and you just let it rip.
It seems like, especially when you have people around you that can really kind of, bring it to that next level. That's kind of going into it. That's kind of what I was thinking the whole time, where it's like, it doesn't, I know this isn't going to sound as good as like my previous albums that when I recorded it in real studios, but I just knew that if I could get it good enough to where somebody could kind of like, beef it up a little bit, that I'd be just about where I wanted to be. So a lot of times I'm constantly thinking about, oh, don't worry about it now. It's going to be something else later.
Yeah.
But
Well, it sounds great. Did you do the mastering as well on that?
no, I actually, Ryan Younts actually helped me out. It's a kind of a long story, but there's a period of time where I had a couple people helping me out, that it just started kind of happening where, well, it was actually right right during the first kind of lockdown that we had in Michigan. It was
Yeah.
like last year in March. uh I was starting to work with somebody. He got wrapped up in some stuff, and it just kind of like a year later, like, it's just things weren't getting done.
Yeah.
And he's also, Ryan is also a great musician. He said, hey man, I do some stuff too, like, if you need some help, uh hit me up, and yeah, it just was like immediately he understood, what I was going for, and super patient, and understood that I'm not trying to make some, this, huge
That
sound or
sounds.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. And so
Yeah.
he's really cool. So yeah, he like remixed it, mixed it and mastered it, and took what I had, and did his magic with it. And
Yeah. Well, I think
so
it sounds great, man. I listened to
thank
the whole
you.
thing today. It sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm
I
trying to
appreciate that.
think how we met in Michigan there. Do you recall? I mean, I remember a few things, but I remember just being a fan of your music right away because I think back then there wasn't a whole lot of us doing what we were doing. I
Yeah,
think, and your stuff is a little bit different than mine. Mine's maybe a little bit more rootsy, but there just wasn't a whole lot of our peers. I
right,
remember in that scene and coming from Studio Tone with this kind of more rock pop band, and then trying to go folky. It was
right,
weird transition because it always felt like, man, I don't know about this guy. He's from this kind of big rock band over here, and then he's trying to get into the Americana scene. But so I remember trying to just latch on to everybody that I could that even just played acoustic guitar, you know.
right,
So how did
right.
we? Do you remember?
I I was actually, you just reminded me, like I was trying to think if I had originally heard you with the band Studio Tone, right? You just
Yeah,
said
yeah.
uh if I had heard you with the band first, or if it was when you were doing, because I feel like, did you play Whites in
Yeah,
Saginaw?
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I don't know if it was like we met at a show, or yeah. And
Yeah,
I know this is gonna sound really cheesy, and I'm gonna date myself, but I want to say like maybe through MySpace, like when MySpace
gosh,
was a thing,
hey man, I booked a whole tour on MySpace.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. When I
awesome.
moved out here, I booked the whole thing through MySpace. It was incredible. But
I
it
actually,
could have been
yeah,
it could have been through Andy Reid, maybe.
yeah. I maybe
It could have
because
been.
he worked with you on this, on the styrofoam pills, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
what was his involvement exactly? Did he mix it? I think Andy might have mixed it, and then Donnie Brown played the drums on it.
Right. Yep.
So it could have been through Andy where he said, "Hey, you should check out Brett Mitchell," or I just heard something. I remember we did a show. Are you getting any feedback? Are you hearing any feedback, Brett?
A little bit, yeah. Is that on my end or your end?
No, I think it might be me. How's that?
Okay.
Is that a little better?
Yeah. Yeah, there
Okay,
was
good.
just a tinge, but nothing crazy.
Okay, I think we didn't you. I think I opened for you at the Blind Pig, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. How could I forget that?
Yeah,
Like,
that was a trip.
I think that was the only time, or maybe the second time I had played there. But yeah, I think man, that's crazy. How long ago was that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had me out for that. That would have been 2005, 2006, maybe,
Oh my
maybe.
God. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
right,
forget
right
some of
around in
the,
there. You know,
well,
that
'cause-
was Cobain's favorite place to play. Isn't
yeah. Yeah. I
that
always
crazy?
remember that little tidbit of information. I wish it, I was a late, no, I shouldn't say I was a late bloomer with Nirvana. I mean, when Smells Like Teen Spirit came out, and Nevermind, I was like 11, 12 or something like that.
Yep.
But the true cool Nirvana fan kids were, into them in like from like 88 or
Hmm.
89 or something. But
Yep.
I wish I could have been old enough to have been old enough to go to the Blind Pig back when they did play there, because it just
Oh yeah, I was. Yeah,
life
man. That
changing.
was. I remember quite a buzz of. It was them and Jane's Addiction.
Oh
It was
wow.
that whole buzz. There was a lot of buzz around Bleach. I
Yeah.
remember that. But this is actually the same day that they recorded Unplugged in '93 as well.
Today, right now?
Yeah.
Today is the day? No
Yeah.
kidding.
For a
I did
few
not
more
know.
hours anyway.
Oh, right.
Crazy. But
Yeah,
anyway, yeah, man, Blind Pig, that was a cool show. And I remember that was like a landmark. Out here you have a list like, oh man, I got to play the Troubadour. And
right.
the Blind Pig, man, that was, you took me there. So thank you.
You're welcome. I
Yeah,
actually,
man.
it's funny because I think about back then. I mean, because I was just getting started pretty much. I mean, I don't know how long you had been.
Starting Arthur Autumn pretty much at
Yeah,
that point.
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd been a drummer for, out of high school, through in high school and then out of high school. But as far as like actually playing like big shows like that. That was actually really early on in my career to even be able to play a show like that. And the Arc too, to speak about another Ann Arbor venue, played the
Yeah.
Arc when I was like only a couple years in. It's just kind of crazy to think about now.
Yeah, yeah. So Blind Pig, that would have been. I pretty much started Arthur on about 2003, maybe 2004. Styrofoam Pills came out probably like 2005. So it all kind of happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
My buddy Zach Pierce, who produced it, I just kind of talked to him about, you know, going out on my own and going in more of a songwriter vein and acoustic instruments and that kind of thing. And I sent him a demo tape, and he's like, "Yeah, man, let's record." And Zach was in a band called The Flow. You remember The Flow?
I don't think so. That doesn't ring a bell either.
They're amazing. But anyway, that's kind of how that started. So that would have been about 2005.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, let's talk about your new record for the most
Sure.
part, man. Tell us how that came about, and some of your favorite tracks.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, the process for me was all just on my own, and it was the first time attempting to try to. I mean, watching, well, Andy, Andy, and so by the album before that, I did with Andy, and I
Yeah,
would kind of watch him and kind of try to pay attention to some stuff. I'm all ears too, so I just use my ears, and I need knobs, and I
yeah,
A and B everything, and until I think
yeah.
it sounds good. But and it ended up being like a 3-year process, kind of
Wow.
trying to like make myself, motivate myself to do it. I know that some artists might say like, oh, it was easy because I love to do this, and I do love recording, but when it's on your own time and on your own dime,
Yeah,
uh in your house, I'm a night owl, so like it was nice to be able to just say, I'm going to go down and work on this song at 3 in the morning, and
yeah,
not worry about neighbors or any waking anybody up.
yeah.
But it also had been this like it was kind of eating at me that my last album had been 10 years. So I was also like, I
Felt
felt
pressure.
like I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And it was my own
not pressure,
doing.
but kind of like, man, I should do something.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it was my own doing. It wasn't like, anybody else, it wasn't like I was, had an actual deadline or anything, but,
yeah,
um, so I was trying to get it out, I think, the summer of last year. And like I said, it just kind of, there was some setbacks in the mixing, and trying to get some, because I literally recorded it on a SD, Tascam little SD card,
yeah.
which, bringing that to anybody now, they're just like, what
Yeah.
are you doing? So I was really thankful that I had some people that were really patient with me and understood that, like, oh, okay, he's just doing this like homemade thing, and he wants us to kind of see what we can do with it. And I was just happy to be able to take what I did over the past, the few years that I did, and make it sound decent.
Sounds great.
Um and the songs in general, I don't know if you've ever done this with albums where you're like, it was the first time that I actually wrote and put a song on an album that I was recording. Usually it's like, oh, these are songs that I've had for a couple years, or or whatever.
Yeah.
So the two songs that I did that with, one's called Affirmation, which is like I think like the fifth song or something.
Yeah, I think it
Real
is. I made a
mellow.
note of that one. I like that one.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's that one kind of came out of nowhere, and I was dinking around with some like alternate tuning stuff. I think I
Yeah.
was messing around with some like Nick Drake stuff, and
You know what? I heard My Morning Jacket on that one a little bit.
oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
Huge fan. So thank you,
And
flattered by
funny you
that.
bring up Nick Drake because I heard Pink Moon on the very last track.
Oh,
I was waiting for you to go ping, ping, ping.
right. Yeah. No, it's pretty much any influence that is like acoustic based is usually always comes through my stuff. As far as like rock, or like, you know, there's some other stuff that I know that just never really sneaks through in my music, because I'm just not like heavy or
Yeah.
bluesy or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a track that came out of nowhere that I just started messing around with and building, and I was like, what, I think I'm gonna leave this on the album. And then the other one was a song that I wrote for my girlfriend called "You Are the Only One,"
Yeah.
and it's kind of, yeah, it's got that sick early '60s kind of Motowny vibe,
Yeah. Yeah.
oldies vibe. And that was the same thing where it was just that came out of nowhere, and I wrote it. I wrote the song, the music, and recorded it one day, and then the next day I kept listening to it and could hear a melody, and then I wrote the melody and lyrics the next day. So I recorded that whole thing in 2 days, and that
Great.
was by far the fastest thing that I had done on the album. Everything else was like, months of just
Wow.
tweaking and going back in
So
and
you're saying most of your records you kind of had the songs, you're playing them out for a little while versus Affirmation, for instance, you kind of wrote it and just hit record right away.
yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I mean, it's funny because I know all the artists and bands and stuff that I know and love, and over the years, I know that like sometimes they go in and they write the record while they're that's the whole
Yeah.
point of recording, is like
Yeah.
they're just writing and they're rehearsing in the studio. Like I wish I could experience
Yeah.
that kind of thing, but you know how it goes, studio time, especially out in LA and
Yeah.
bigger
You got to
cities,
be
studio
ready.
time. Yeah, exactly. So it was cool to like, I always kind of wanted that, and it wasn't really intentional,
Yeah.
but it was cool to say, oh, these are two songs that none of my fans, or
Right.
not even my family know, because they're brand new, and I'm going to put these on the album. And so that was cool, because there's actually like two or three songs on the album that were from like 2012 or 2011
Hmm.
that I wrote just after I did my last album. So
Okay. They were
so
hanging
those have
around.
been, yeah. So
Do
those,
you ever do you ever feel like I get this way with painting a lot, and I want to ask you if you're a painter a little bit in a little bit, but do you ever find it happens to me mostly when I'm painting, like I'll work on a painting, and if I don't finish it right away, I'm not into it several months later because the feelings inside of me have changed.
yeah,
Like I had one that I worked on like a year ago, and I looked at it the other day. I'm like, damn, that's really dark. I don't feel that way anymore. I don't want to mess with that one anymore.
yeah.
Does that ever happen to you where it's been on the shelf for a little bit of time? You're just like, you know what? I don't feel the same way. I don't want to continue with that. Or do you like, does that ever happen to you?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like as soon as you said that, I was like, oh man, I've done that so many times. Or even like that same example, but sometimes it'll be a song that whatever the lyrics were, and I'll be like, what is that? I don't even know what was I thinking then? Like
Yeah.
it was just whatever I was going through at that time made sense to
Yeah.
me. But now I'm just like, I don't relate to that or whatever. So yeah. I'm horrible at like, once I start working on something, it's like I don't want to come back to it, because I feel like
Yeah.
the magic is now, it's happening
Yeah.
now. So lightning in a bottle kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then there's stuff like I was just talking about that I wrote like from 2012,
Yeah.
is a song called "Why You Want to Mess with My Heart Like This,"
I
and it's
love that
kind of
one.
like Rick Springfieldy kind of rip
Yeah.
off kind of thing.
Elvis
And
Costello, man. I'm hearing that all
that
over this new record.
huge
Great.
compliment, and I appreciate that, because I'm a huge Elvis fan for
It
sure.
sounds. I was picking up that vibe right from the start, and especially on that one. How does that
Yeah.
melody go at the end, at the outro?
Don't well, I had this heart for
Yeah.
32 years, and yeah, because Elvis does that
What's that hook
melodically,
at
goes
the end that
low.
you
And
do?
what's
What's
that?
why you gotta mess my heart like this? How
Yeah.
does it go?
I gotta think about why you wanna mess with my heart like this. Why
Yeah,
you wanna mess with heart
it's
like this?
great.
Yeah.
It's great,
Thanks,
man.
man. Yeah. Well, that was in a notebook that was sitting in my studio, and I think I had another song that I knew that I had planned on recording, and I think I was trying to find the lyrics for it,
Okay.
and I was like, oh man, I forgot about this one,
Yeah.
and I tried to remember kind of how it went or how I wrote it at the time. And same thing, I was just like, maybe I shouldn't mess with this, because it's like not, you know, that was so long ago. But as I built the song and kept going, I'm like, oh man, I definitely got to put this on here. But so sometimes I do feel that way. Like I'm like, oh, I can't, this doesn't represent that
Yeah.
feeling anymore. But other
Yeah.
times like that, I'm just like, oh man, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
And maybe I should bring that back. But
What's Well, how do you typically write, Brett? Do you pick up a guitar and noodle around, find some chords? You start with a notebook. What's a process that I mean? I know it changes all the time for us and how it works, and but what's a typical way that feels comfortable for you? How does it start for you?
Yeah, I think it usually does kind of start with like just kind of noodling on a guitar. I think most of the time that I can think back and recall when the origins of a song started, it's usually like that. Um, or sometimes it can be like you just get a melody in your head, or
Yeah.
you wake up whistling something, you're like, is that a song, or am I making that up? And but it's rarely ever like I already have the lyrics. I just wrote lyrics and then I'm going to build a song around lyrics. I almost never do that. Um,
Really?
yeah, and I know that a lot of songwriters they do start. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you start writing lines, and then you hear the melody in your head yet?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of times I start with the hook.
Yeah,
I start with
sure.
a catchy title.
Yeah,
You know, I like
you
falling for
set a
the sun
theme.
or what's
Yeah,
that?
you set a theme first to kind of
Yeah,
start
because I
the
think once you have the hook, the rest is just gravy
right.
around it. So a lot of times because I don't usually, I mean, I guess a little bit more lately because I'll find something that's tasty on the guitar these days, but I don't find myself to be a great guitar player. So, and
I
I've
don't either.
started in rock bands where, they hand me a riff and I write the lyric and do that. So I think that was ingrained in me, but um, a lot of times it'll just start with just like noodling in a book and then just kind of working out the phrasing with the chords, but
I
it's just random.
I wonder if that has I mean, it has to be a lot to do with the fact that you're an artist, and that it's like you need to have that, like a painting would be, or a sketch would be, maybe. I don't know if maybe that has something to do with it, why you're gravitated towards that process more, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it could be. A lot of times just starts with a melody and then
Yeah.
trying to figure out the chords.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Right. That sometimes happens. That's always kind of cool, because I kind of feel like that's like yeah, because it's like you're not really actually creating the chords. You're just trying to
Yeah.
find the chords that fit the, and I that's pretty rare. I don't it's been rare that I've done it that way, but almost always it seems like I'll just be thinking around. Like a lot of times, half the riffs that I've ever written have just been like zoning out. Just you're just like
Yeah.
you're leaning back on the couch,
Yeah.
or just
Yeah.
maybe you're watching TV at the same time, and then you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then it just
Yeah.
kind of starts to build. And
Yeah.
but
Or it's a lot of times just like find some chords like la da da ba da 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 be ba da da da, and then you're like, okay, goodbye, Miss Soldier Rose, goodbye, Miss Soldier Rose. So it
right,
kind of works simultaneously, and sometimes it's just a mystery. I remember one time writing on the last Arthur Autumn record, and I was working on a song with my friend GK, and we literally I had some notes in my notebook, and I opened it up. He played some chords, and literally by the end of those 3 minutes, we had a song.
yeah,
It was insane. I mean,
that's
not
so
all the
cool.
lyric. You go back and you fine tune that, but the verse and the chorus. By the end of the 3 minutes, we kind of looked at each other and like, whoa, wow, what just happened? So
Yeah,
sometimes it's just magical like that, and
definitely.
but I don't really have a rhyme or reason personally.
Yeah,
Just kind of just you just have to kind of. The scariest thing is you sit down with your guitar or piano and you have an empty notebook. That's horrifying and
yeah. Where do I
frightening.
start?
Or with a painting an empty canvas. That happened to me the other night, and I thought about it. I looked at the empty canvas, and I told my friend, I'm going to paint tonight, and I sent her pictures as I went along with the painting.
Oh, right.
But at first, I was like an empty canvas, and if you really think about that in your head, it's a daunting task because you're creating something that's never existed before, and
Right.
somehow it's got to come from somewhere through you onto the canvas or onto your hands to the piano. But
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I
No rhyme or reason for
yeah,
me.
honestly, I don't think I've ever actually done that either. Like just start like I'm gonna sit down. Like it's almost, in fact, I don't know if you get this way sometimes, or you just feel like after you do write something and it's been a little time, a couple weeks or a month or whatever, you're like, how am I ever gonna write another song? And you're just like, I don't have anything, I don't have any ideas. So a lot of times it the idea of just sitting down and being like, I'm going to create, that never really happens. It's just always this little spark, or this, a lot of times if I'm listening to other music too, it'll
Yeah.
it'll remind me of something, and it maybe I'll kind of like, extract a little bit from whatever I was listening to and
Yeah.
mold it into something else. But I I don't know what it is about that. And maybe it is what you were just talking about, that fear of just being like, oh my gosh, now I have
Yeah.
to, like, where
It's
do I
real.
begin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think sometimes, I mean, just constantly listening to music, film, talking to, other people and other artists. And my
Yeah.
girlfriend, she's a great artist and can kind of do all sorts of different mediums, and uh even stuff that she, ideas that she comes with up with spark something, or
Yeah.
so. But yeah, I'm right there with you, where it's just kind of, it's like however it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did try during stay at home orders at the top of the pandemic. We had nothing else to do but write songs, and I was drawing up sketches for Electric Moon and trying to figure that out, and going back and forth with Mike on how we're gonna pull this 3D VR thing off. So I had that to do, and then I would do that on one day, and then another day I would dedicate to songwriting, and then at night I would just paint through the night. I just paint because there
Wow.
was nothing else to do. I could get up when I needed to. I could meditate, work out, and I could just paint through the night. So I tried this exercise, Brett, where was it who said it? It might have been Picasso. Um, Inspiration will find you, but it must find you working. So
Oh.
you know,
Ooh, I
so
like
I
that.
would literally just lock myself in the bathroom because acoustics were good, and a guitar and my notebook, and just see what I would think of it. I thought of it like this. Okay, this is my job. Okay, it's just like an accountant puts on a suit and he goes to his office and he works. So I'm like, well, I'm a songwriter. That's all I get to do right now. I can be a full-fledged artist. I can build Electric Moon. I'm just gonna work from 9 to 5 as an artist, literally do that. And I tried that. And some days, man, you're banging your head, but at the other days, you're kind of exercising that muscle,
Right.
and it becomes easier. And sometimes for me as an artist, I get like 2 hours of, I feel like 11 sometimes from Stranger Things, where it's like you pour it all out and then you're drained and then you got to recharge. So I
All
get
right.
like 2 hours. And maybe some of those days I would just get one line, 2 lines, 3 lines. Maybe I'd get the bridge. Maybe I'd get something, but I would just discipline myself to go to work like anybody else. And I found out, I learned that kind of from Nick Cave, who
Okay. Yeah.
he'll put on his little black jacket that he wears, all the time, and
Like
he'll,
his smoking jacket.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he'll go to work.
Yeah.
Just like it. So if you get in that mindset, you kind of, now you're not, as artists, if you're an accountant, you could probably nail those numbers and figures no matter what mindset you are.
Right.
As artists, we're not always going to have that magic, and it's not always going to come there. But if you put in the work, again, if I was happy if I got, a couple lines, I'd be upset if it were only a couple lines, but you have to know when to put the pen down and not just dial it in. Say, okay, I didn't capture it today, but I'll get it tomorrow, or maybe I'll
Right.
revisit later on
I
after I go
I
for a
like that.
walk. But
Yeah, I like that. And I might have to adopt that, because that's probably what I need to do to kind of like eliminate that feeling of like, oh, how will I ever write another song again? Because I feel that way after every song I write.
yeah,
And it's, or album, I'm like, how am I going to make another album ever?
yeah,
But I like that, because I kind of have a tendency is, during like the very beginning of the lockdown, um I was really hard on myself for not playing at all. Like there were
yeah.
like a few months where I wasn't playing it. I wouldn't pick up my guitar, I wouldn't go play my drums.
I remember we
Heck,
were talking. Yeah,
what's that?
we were talking during that, so I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I would end up playing my drums more than my guitar. And so I felt like I wasn't really writing, or I didn't have that like that avenue to write songs. I mean,
Yeah.
I technically I've written some tunes on the drums, like I had a beat in mind and I built
Oh,
around that. But you know, going down to play drums was like that was like more like a physical release,
yeah.
cathartic kind of. Whereas like
Conscious.
picking picking up my guitar or singing or anything was almost like too bittersweet. It was like
Yeah.
because at that time it was just crazy, we all were wondering what the heck we're gonna do. Um and so yeah, it was really weird for a while. I was like
Yeah.
hard on myself that I was
Yeah.
like, people, would say, "Oh, you must be just writing all sorts of stuff and playing." And I'm like, actually, no, it's I've been listening to more music than I was playing,
Yeah.
but then it changed, once I started kind of, what it was is I started playing for some people, and when people respond to that, you get that connection, and that kind of perks you up, and then you realize, like you just said, this is what I do. This is my job, and
Yeah.
my job is to, write and perform and
Yeah.
and and, and connect with people through music, but
Yeah, I think if you get in that mindset, it's kind of just discipline. It's like, hey, man, I'm an artist, but that doesn't mean I can't just go to work just like anybody else. And I think, through the pandemic, man, I think we all had to kind of process things in our own way.
yeah,
For me, it was staying on that regiment. Not just
mhm,
floating off into space with all these feelings and emotions. I was kind of just, not to sound cliche, but I was kind of putting them on the paper and in the
right,
paintings and just working it through, and I was grateful enough to stay healthy and my family, and I was in a okay position, so I feel really grateful for that. And I think we touched upon it on the phone the other day that we're just I'm just so grateful to have the outlet, and I feel because I have that gift that I have to create the electric moon, and I have to make people smile at shows, and I have to write the song, and I have to have Brett Mitchell on the show, and and just lend that hand, because I think as artists it's I think it's just our duty. I really do. I
yeah,
really think that we're supposed to you know be the commentary of, create the conversation of what we're feeling around us. And we were feeling the world crash down on us, and we
right,
were all afraid and scared. And I
right,
think it's our duty to kind of channel it through our art, and hopefully that, you write a record like Brandy Carlisle or Fleet
yeah,
Foxes, or
right,
the Killers, whoever wrote during that time period, that
yeah,
you can help extend a hand, and help other people work through it.
right. And I mean, yeah, I know that there were a lot of people that felt that even more during it. They understood the people that weren't artists and weren't creators, that understood how much that was important to them. And then we see that, and it kind of reminds us, like, oh yeah, like, what would the world be like if, if we all shut down like this, but then also didn't have art and music and film and,
Yeah,
other forms of expression to express this whatever pain we're going through and this craziness we're going
yeah,
through. So I think that is exactly what got so many people through it, was that knowing that, oh yeah, this is our duty. This is how
yeah,
we're going to make it better,
yeah,
yeah,
pretty much, man. But I'd love to hear a song. You want to play a song?
yeah, sure.
What are you thinking?
Well, I thought it might as well do one off the new album,
Great.
since we've been talking about it. um I thought I'd just do it's the first track on the album, the opener.
I wanted to talk to you real quick about your whistling solos. You had a couple on there,
Oh
right?
yeah,
On that one.
I could play that one if you wanted to hear that one
No,
instead.
I
But
think you had a little whistling on the first one and the second track, no?
uh, it's yeah, the second track. Yep, the second track. Um, it's funny because that little acoustic solo I did. Um, I don't know how many times I tried to, how many takes I took on that, because I thought I want like this kind of gypsy jazz kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, I mean, I don't agree with you because I've seen you playing and I think you're great. I'm a drummer, so uh, I knew that I'm like, maybe I'll have somebody play this, because I knew I could hear it in my head.
Yeah.
So I just kept messing with it, and I was like, finally got it. But then when I played that song out live, before I even recorded that and even had that in my mind, I was just doing a whistle solo during it that I would just play and whistle. So I was like, oh man, but now there's not going to be whistling on the song. So I was like, oh, I know, I'll just whistle parts of the solo.
Perfect.
And I'm like, yeah. But and then I think you're also thinking there's a song after that where I do whistling too. So like 2 songs in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but this
But
one doesn't have any whistling, but
play whatever you like, man.
cool. This is Dropping of a Pin. I know you don't want to hear about how I've been. I know you don't really care about the shape I'm in. The dropping of a pin. And we love, and we fight, and we laugh, and we cry. But I hope you can hold on to the good times. Yes, I hope you can hold on to the good times. And while you lie next to him, I hope you remember when love shot through your heart and changed the sparkling stars. And we love, and we fight, and we laugh, and we cry. But I hope you can hold on to the good times. Yes, I hope you can hold on to the good times. No, you don't want to hear about how I've been. I know you don't really care about the shape I'm in. The dropping of a pin. And we love, and we fight, and we laugh, and we cry. But I hope you can hold on to the good times. Yes, I hope you can hold on to the good times. Yes, I hope you can hold on to the good times. Yes, I hope you can hold on to the good times. And while you lie next to him, I hope you remember when my love shot through your heart.
Nice, man.
Thanks, man.
Elvis Costello vibes, early Elvis, man. Whew.
I take that as a gigantic compliment because I love Elvis, huge fan. Have been for a long time, and
Man,
yeah.
I ain't blowing you any smoke, man. You're a great songwriter, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, your new record sounds fantastic.
Thanks, man. That
Yeah,
means a
now
lot. Thank
you recorded all the instruments on your own on top of your brilliance as a songwriter. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just me. There's no one else on it. So,
Wow.
and actually, there's a couple tracks that I play a little bit of piano, but I'm not like, so if I were to write out like Brett Mitchell plays this, and like I didn't want to say piano because I don't play, I just do little melodies and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
just me in my house at 3 a.m.
And you started as a drummer, right?
Yeah, drums are my main instrument. I still play drum, like when I play with my full band, we're a 3-piece.
Seen that.
I play drums and just sing lead from the drums, and guitar player and bass player. But yeah, I started out like in junior high as a kid, just banging away on the drums and taught myself how to play. And I never really like messed around with the guitar much, but
Yep.
when I started, like, I'd pick my friends' brains and other musicians of like, wait, show, how do you play that chord? Oh, what is that? And then
Yeah.
I just kind of compiled what I knew, And then the more I kind of messed around and dinked around with the guitar, that's when songwriting started coming out. And never ever did I think back in the day that I would be called a songwriter or have a compliment from you saying you're a great songwriter. So thanks,
Man,
man.
I love it. I'm a huge fan, man. Huge fan. Tell
Thanks.
me, I wanted
Likewise.
to ask you specifically, Brett, and I think I read up on your, it's been several months, but who did the album art? It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's my girlfriend. Once again, earlier I mentioned she's an artist. That's all hand done, hand cut paper that she
Wow.
did. Yeah. And I don't even know how many hours she put into it. I think she ended up saying something like around 80 hours. I think
Wow.
I think she probably kind of just rounded off. I think it was more than that, but
It's
um
incredible. So it's kind
yeah.
of like a collage, is that right? It's all cut out and then she,
Yeah, so like the idea, so I don't want to take any credit for it, but the initial idea that I had was like it was just like an explosion like coming out of my head of everything that I am and that's inside me.
yeah.
And then it was like, okay, maybe it shouldn't be that like I don't know. I started having these like ideas of like overlaid images,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I talked to a couple people that kind of thought that was like an overdone thing or whatever.
I
And
love it.
yeah, I do too.
It's
And
amazing.
then uh we had this idea that I would just let her like what things remind you of or remind me of you of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh
Those songs. Yeah.
yeah. And so she started doing all these little things that I didn't even know until kind of the last minute when she started kind of rearranging or arranging everything. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Like one like she did a little rat and it's one of her rats
I saw
named
that.
Pepper. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, it's Pepper. And then I started seeing all these other things and it was amazing. And she's so humble that, she's like, are you sure? I'm like, babe, this is beyond anything. And it's all hand done, it's no computers were involved.
Well, let's give her a shout out if, in case anybody needs any album art. What is her name? And
Yeah. Cat Bodie,
all right.
KatBodie. And she was for a time there, she was doing commission work, and she's
I can
also got a
tell.
theater background. So she's an actress. And so yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm pretty sure if she were ever to be out in LA someday, I'm sure she'd probably not come back because she'd be like, oh my God,
Lots
this
of
is where I
gigs.
should be. Yeah.
Well, please tell her that I think it's fantastic and I really love it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I will for sure.
Yeah, please do. I want to
Um,
ask you too. What do you listen to these days? What's moving you?
I've been kind of addicted to a band called Nectar. They're uh like a German hard prog rock band from like the
Okay.
70s.
Okay.
Spelled with a K, Nectar with a K.
Okay.
Um, and I just came across in like a month ago a band called Man, uh another band from the 70s. And I kind of just find myself always wanting to listen to like psych, like proggy psych hard rock shit that I'm just like, I don't know what it is.
Great.
I could live there in that world. So a lot of
Scandinavia.
like, yeah, what's that?
Scandinavia, right? Sweden, big black metal scene out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of Norwegian death metal.
Oh
No.
yeah.
But yeah, I like a lot of like hard rock, psych rock stuff. Um, I there was some Langhorne Slim that I
Oh
was really
yeah.
getting into over
Great.
the pandemic. I love his stuff. Um, I'm always constantly listening to Dr. Dog. That's when I go back to Dr. Dog
Yeah.
and
Interesting.
Wilco's probably my favorite band.
Yeah.
Um, but I haven't listened to anything like new in a
Yeah.
while. I have a tendency to kind of neglect looking around, and I know that's probably bad of me, but I just
Not
kind of
always.
have those comfort zones that I go back to.
Sure.
But what
Yeah,
about
that
yourself?
reminds me of the pandemic times. One of the records that really got me by was Fetch the Bolt Cutters. You know that one?
Fiona Apple.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
is
I
that
would
Fiona
paint
Apple's
through the
one?
night,
Yeah.
just listen to that record over and over, man. I got some
Yeah.
trippy stuff out of that record.
They was well, and then I found out when I started like reading about it and stuff that she kind of the same thing. She did a lot of it. I think it was all done at her house, right?
I
Like
think
most of
so.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she played a lot of percussion stuff that I don't think I've ever seen her do anything other than like piano or sing,
Yeah,
and to see her play a lot of percussion stuff too. I was like, man, like she's got some interesting, like rhythmic
yeah,
ideas that. But yeah, that totally, that when that came out, I was immediately like, wow, blown away, and the emotion that she captured on it, some of her performances
yeah.
vocally, and that was like, boy, this, yeah, she's been holding this in for a while.
Yeah, it's I call it kind of wildly fantastic. It was
Right.
kind of the first listen I was kind of like, "Oh wow, this is really out there. It's pretty wild. I like it, but I'm not getting it just yet." But by the
Right.
second listen, man, whew,
Yeah.
it was so good. I would just paint through the night, listen to that record over and over, and it's pretty trippy. I mean, it's out there for her. I think she's kind of gotten out there, kind of, I don't know, last
Yeah.
couple of records, but
Yeah, I remember the
it's
last
not
one that I,
Shadowboxer anymore.
yeah, right. Which actually I think that just turned 25 recently.
Wow, gee,
Title, yeah, that first one. I think the last one was an Extraordinary Machine, was
oh, I
like the
love that
last
one.
one that I really like sunk my teeth into.
Oh, I love
That
that
was
one.
cool. And then there was like another one that was like, I know she always had those long titles like When the Pawn Hits, and
Yeah,
but it was
yeah,
like another one kind of like that, and I can't remember the name of it. That's it. Yeah, the Idler
right.
Yields is,
That was
yeah.
after um, When the Pawn, I think, right?
Yeah, or Extraordinary Machine, maybe. It was like in
I
between.
always remember that. Be kind to me or treat me mean. I'll make the most of it. I'm an
Oh yeah.
extraordinary machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So brilliant.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah,
It's
no,
so great.
I was really excited to see her. I know that she, went through a rough patch,
Yeah.
and just like any great artist, I mean, they're tortured in some ways that we can't understand, or some other people can't understand. And it was nice to see her, you know, I was a little, afraid to see, like, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if she was gonna like just disappear or not come back or whatever. And so I
Yeah.
was really rooting for her when that all came out, and that it was just getting really good like reviews and praise. So
Yeah.
that, I'm glad you brought that up, because that actually might be the last, like the newest album that I've remember that came out that I really dug a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
Check
that was
out
like,
check out the new one from do you know Jenny Beth? Have you ever heard of Jenny Beth?
no, that
Have you
doesn't
heard
ring
of
a bell.
Savages?
Yes, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. They're kind of what would you I don't know, like post punk a little bit. I mean,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
got so many. She's a genius, man. I'm such a huge fan of
Jenny
hers.
Jenny Beth. Jenny
Jenny
Beth.
Beth, and she it's kind of she's got some Susie Sue in her. She's got
Okay, yeah, yeah.
it's kind of funny. I was grateful enough to meet Jenny Beth, and I'll tell you a really quick story. Um, I went to see Savages. I met their manager, and we got to talking. He's like, "Have you heard of Savages?" And I heard, they had a buzz, and I'm like, "I've heard of them." And then I checked them out that day, and he's like, "I'm going to give you a couple tickets." And I'm like, "Oh, great!" And I checked them out. I'm like, they blew my mind. Anyway, long story
Yeah.
short, I went to the show, and I ended up meeting Jenny after the performance, and we got to talking, and I said, "Jenny, you remind me of like a Susie Sue and like Henry Rollins, and I think are they Irish, the UK, Iceland, maybe even."
I don't
Anyway,
know.
she goes,
Yeah.
"That's perfect. I love Henry Rollins and I love Susie Sue."
That's
And,
awesome.
and she's like, "You nailed it." And she was the sweetest girl, and she's gone on to work with the Gorillas, and she's just an
Oh wow.
amazing artist. But anyway, she's incredible, and I'm such a huge fan. So
Yeah.
I know Henry Rollins a little bit because he's a fan of the Overlords. So I
Oh nice.
emailed Henry, right? And I said, "Henry, he's always looking for new stuff and
Yeah,
what's going."
yep.
And I said, "Henry, have you heard of Savages?" And he's like, "This is email." And he writes me back, and he's like, "You know what? Their record is sitting on my desk. I haven't listened to it yet, but I will." So
Wow.
2 weeks later, Jenny Beth is on the Henry Rollins show.
That's crazy.
Rock and roll
Yeah.
triangle I brought together.
Yeah, that
But
is, yeah.
crazy. But anyway, her new
Yeah.
record with Bobby Gillespie from Primal Scream is
Okay, yeah, yeah.
is really great.
And
So maybe
they've
check
been around for forever, since the 90s, right? Primal Scream.
long,
Maybe,
long
maybe
time. But
even before that.
it's a little bit more of a singer song. It's not quite as wild as Primal
Okay,
Scream,
yeah.
but definitely check out Savages too.
well, that sounded familiar when you mentioned it, and then I just thought about another newer record, even though it's probably already like 4 or 5 years old. But
Yeah.
I saw them open up for Wilco when I saw them. But the Deep Sea Diver, do you know them?
I've heard of them.
Female singer, guitar player, and writer,
Hmm.
and really same thing. I was like really blown away, and really liked a lot of her songs, a lot of catchy stuff.
Yeah.
um and that would be another one that I just realized that would be like, you know I say new, but it's already probably like 5 years old or 4 years old, but
Yeah.
for me
Yeah.
that's pretty new. But
Right on. Now,
there's
do
so
you
much
do
out
you,
there, man.
what is that, man?
There's so much out there, you just can't, you try to get
There
it all,
is.
but you can't.
Yeah, I try to keep on. I try to keep up with it, and
Yeah.
see what's good. It's not. There's a lot of good hip hop out there too. I don't know if you've heard a lot of Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
Have you heard any of his? Oh my
I
God, man, it's
I
insane.
don't know it like super well, but I know his style and his I
Oh,
if I were to if you were to talk about anything new hip hop, that would definitely be one MC that I would be like, yeah.
dude, he'll
Yep.
try
Yep.
one of his records, man. It's got like some Zappa feel to it. It'll
Yep.
blow your mind because you wouldn't expect it
Yeah.
because he kind of bounces all over the place and
Right.
his hits are so big. But man, the deep cuts on his record um, are amazing. My suspenders. Good thing I'm not standing. My pants would fall down.
They just went on you.
Yeah, they got really loose. I'm like, what's happening here?
That's funny.
But are you a painter as well? Do you do anything outside
Boy,
of
I am and have been my whole life a doodler, an artist of sorts. Um I think the one medium that I have never really felt like I could get the hang of is painting. I always end up like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then it just ends up being like brown. I'm just like, oh, you're supposed to let it that color dry, and then you know,
yeah,
but like ink, like just an ink pen or a pencil, that's what I can sketch and stuff like that. But I've
yeah,
always drawn. I've always been a drawer my whole life since I was a kid. So
right on.
a lot of more kind of cartoony stuff too. I kind of like to do weird characters, like
Great,
stuff that only your imagination can come up with,
sure.
that kind of thing. But I wish I could paint. That's a beautiful, beautiful form that when you see what some people can do anymore, it blows me away, because it's like that's when you get messy and you get really into the
Yeah,
process of it.
yeah. It's a different mindset for me. I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit more freeing, just because I don't consider myself a painter. It's kind of a big world to sit in and call yourself. So I think the pressure is off when I sit down and paint.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more, songwriting. I remember seeing this interview with Bowie, and they said, "Well, it looks like you're having such fun," and he's like, "Well, that's work. That's work." Because songwriting is kind of, to me, it's a little more. We put a little bit more pressure on
Yeah.
ourselves. But I think when I sit down to paint, man, I just put on, usually it's jazz or something really wild like Zappa, things like
Nice.
that, and then I just go to it. I don't really. The
Yeah.
pressure's gone. The suspenders are loosened.
Right.
You
I
know?
think it's like that immediate connection to your arm and then the brush or whatever. Maybe you're using your hands. I don't know, but
Yeah.
like that immediate connection, and then seeing it, it's a vivid. When you have color, I think there's something to that probably has a lot to do with it. I know that
Yeah.
other painters are like that, where it's like this really, it's a huge, almost like a spiritual, you know,
Yeah,
thing.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put on headphones and I'm just in a different planet. Like
Yeah.
somebody could walk through the room and I'm just not really there.
Yeah. You're
Once
part
you
of
get
it.
into it.
You're
Then
part of
you
the
then you
canvas
take off
now.
the headphones, you're like, oh fuck, I gotta come back to the real world.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
I know. That's
So
how I feel after like a great gig. You get
yeah,
off stage on a great gig, and
same
you're like,
thing.
oh man, I gotta go do shit now. Yeah.
Oh
Like I
man.
just want to live on stage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's a totally different mindset almost. Totally different world,
Yeah.
you know?
That's awesome. It's awesome that you have that.
Now, when you write, do you ever use a typewriter, or do you mostly by hand in a notebook? What do you?
Yeah, just
Tricks?
usually pen and paper, or pencil sometimes. But yeah, I don't. I don't have a computer or keyboard or anything. Uh, I don't think I ever owned a typewriter even back in the
Mm,
day, um, but yeah, usually it's like I have a couple notebooks that are smaller, so I don't know why, but it's like if it's a bigger notebook, I feel like, oh, like now I got to write a full song. But in my
yeah,
mind, if it's a small notebook, I can just jot ideas down, and I don't
yeah,
feel like I have to start anything or finish anything. So it's
yeah,
just like a lot of times it's like a means to kind of like don't forget this line or whatever,
sure.
and then I'll come back later and mess with it.
So
But
do you have a stockpile of notebooks throughout? Or
yeah, I have
yeah,
an entire tote full of like the past 20 years probably of just
yeah,
I keep I keep everything, but not because I think like, oh, that's a good line or whatever. It's because of that, what I was just telling you about the other song on the that I put on the album where I might forget about something. And when I do
yeah,
come back to it, I'm like, oh man, I could use that or something, you
yeah,
know. So
yeah.
but
Well, should I do a tune? What do you think?
yeah, I would love to hear
Are you
you.
ready?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, let's see what I can
What
figure
do you
out.
what do you got? Is this
Yeah.
anything new?
I thought I would play an older one that I haven't played, that hasn't been in a show for a long, long time. But it kind
Nice.
of connects us. It's off of Sir Orchid and the Magnificent.
Okay.
So Andy, that's the one that Andy Reid did,
Oh yeah, yeah,
produce and
yeah.
everything. So I was already out here in California. So I'm not as sure if you that really got into your ears
I
much.
yeah, I gotta get a cut. Well, I mean, it's probably online now, streaming,
Yeah,
or
yeah, wherever music is streamed.
wherever music is streaming. All
Yeah,
right, now
but it's
now you
out
got
there,
me
and it's
going.
actually Sir Orchid is the character that you see at Electric Moon.
Oh
So
yeah.
that sketch on the cover, if you know the cover at all, he is
Okay, yeah,
now
yeah.
lives at Electric Moon. So it's kind of a little bit of that kind of thing, like pulling from your past and kind of tying stuff in.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I know
yeah.
Bowie did that quite a bit. Not to compare myself to Bowie, of course, but so yeah. So I figured I'd play this one for you.
Cool.
I don't know if you know this. Do you know this record at all?
No, I must have been when you said that was when you were first out in LA or something, maybe.
Yeah, so I
Maybe
wrote
that's
this one
why.
in Topanga Canyon. Would have been what 2011, I
Oh
think.
yeah, okay.
And this one was a staple in the shows, and I haven't played it in forever. I had to go back and. Are you one to listen to your records
Not really.
after? Oh,
Only while I'm recording it, I'll keep going back to it. But once it's like, yeah, it's I mean every once in a while maybe, but yeah, I don't have any desire
yeah, I
to.
had to go back and listen to this one.
Right?
But yeah.
Cool.
So this is called "Goodbye, Miss Audrey Rose." I think it's a lead-off track of this record. I met you, baby, way outside, gone from Mexico. We talked about the city of pie. You never wanna end up out west. But soon you said, well, you gotta go. You gotta get home to the boys. I knew my time, well, my time had come. I best get on my way. But you were such a darling sweet, the way that you told me. You were such a darling sweet, baby. Yeah, oh, oh, oh. Goodbye, my song rose. Yeah, goodbye, my song rose. Goodbye, my song rose. But all was not long ago. Yeah, I wear that white suit, I think carnation. Maybe you wear that dress. Come on, dance around the haunted hotel until we get out there. But I'm on, baby, say I lost the key. I think it's room 203. Or would you grab the bite on the pills that is and help me find my way? You were such a bad and sweet, the way that you told me. Darling, sweet baby, yeah, oh, oh, oh. Goodbye, my song rose. Yeah, goodbye, my song rose. Goodbye, my song rose. And all was time that will go. where I could be free. Yeah, but you always said to me fine. Said I gotta meet you, Kim. Your eyes are shine like the brightest diamond, like nothing I've seen before. You were such loud and sweet, the way that you talked to me. You were such loud and sweet with me, yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Be by my song, the rose. Yeah, we'll be by my song, the rose. We'll be by my song, the rose. And all those times that we go. Be by my song, the rose. Yeah, we'll be by my song, the rose. Be by my song, the rose. And all those times that we go. Be by my song, the rose. Yeah, we'll be by my song, the rose. Be by my song, the rose. And all those times that we go.
Yeah.
I haven't played that one in a little while. Woo.
See,
All right.
see now when it's your song, you can do that. It's all right. I say if there's a chord that you forgot, it's your song. You could just change it right there if you wanted to. I
Yeah.
rewrote it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is
That's
that
the nice
now? Is that based on a real person, or is that
That
just kind of
is,
a?
yeah. I was dating. I was actually. It's a fictitious character. That's not her real name. That's not a real
Yeah. Okay.
person, but indirectly, because I don't like to be that personal.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the thing about Sir Orchid. That whole record was. It was like the third record, and I kind of got tired of talking about myself and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I wanted to work with characters.
Yeah.
So Sir Orchid is a made-up character, but I'm still channeling through him.
Sure.
So kind of like Sergeant Pepper's, where they
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
experimented with characters and things like that. So there's no Audrey Rose. It's a
Yeah.
fictitious name, but there was a girl that I was dating when I was moving to California. So it is actually about her. And then we stayed on tour. She met me, and we stayed at this haunted hotel, which is in the lyric of the song. That was
Oh,
like,
wow.
where was it? I think we were like, where were we? Oh man, Hot Springs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're in Hot Springs, and there's a haunted hotel there in Arkansas, and we stayed, and it was
Wow.
wild. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a real song. Some of the stuff is,
Yeah.
we're songwriters. It's kind of, we make stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wondered that because it's like it. I got the impression that it was, but then I know how it goes sometimes when it's a very very Beatles-esque thing to do, to be like, I'm gonna create this character, write about this character, but it's not. They don't really exist. It's just
Yeah,
like I had a song on my third album, the last album, called "You Could Be My Hat," and it was just an imaginary girlfriend. Like I'm where are you, imaginary? Where are you? Come, I
yeah,
could be your hat and you could be my coat, or whatever. And I was
yeah.
just like, yeah, that same thing where you're like, that's about nobody. But I had a feeling that was. I just got the feeling that it was somebody that
Yeah,
you.
it's a character, but she was real, but it's kind of
Yeah.
masked a little bit and
Yeah.
and a story. But it was kind of an experiment for me as a songwriter, just to kind of do, because I love Sergeant Pepper's, and I'd always loved the Beatles. The Beatles are at the core of everything I do,
Sure.
as is like
Yeah.
Motown and things like that. But I'd never really tried to wear like the Beatles on my sleeve, like literal Beatles. Like that
Right.
sounds like the Beatles, man.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I call up Andy Reid,
Right.
and he was like,
Right.
"Oh, dude, I'm your guy."
Right.
And I'm like, "Of course you are.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking." So
Right.
he was very influential, and I hadn't heard that song in a while, and I listened to it on headphones. I'm like, "Wow, there's that Andy vocal that he added to that. That's so Beatlesque." So it was just the Sir Orchid character and the album cover, and it was all just an experiment to write in characters. But again, like Sir Orchid is me still.
Yeah.
Like he was how I was feeling, but it was just channeled through a character. But it's he, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm
You know.
and I'm excited now to apologize that, I didn't get it. That one slipped by me, I guess, but now I have a nice little
Reference.
journey to go on after this to go check it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that was a pretty like Styrofoam Pills. You know that record, I
That
think.
was that was like, I mean, I played that all the time. That was that. I know this is going to be corny, but that really did get me through some weird times. And
Wow.
like, because your voice has this like, it's just really comforting. And I know that probably it's supposed to be a compliment, but maybe it
Thank you.
doesn't sound like it. But
No, it's
yeah, I think
nice.
it just was really. I don't know. That album is like a big part of my past, and
Wow.
that was like right around the time that we were kind of just meeting and kind of doing our own thing and kind of venturing out into what we were going to eventually do. And
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's anyway. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Yes, Sir Orchid was kind of a. I wanted to throw a curveball. I
Yeah.
wanted to play electric instruments, and I felt very happy at the time, and I was free. I was in California and that sort of thing, so I was feeling different. And I'm like, I don't want to write another because Styrofoam Pills is like,
Yeah, it's
they
deep.
always say that it takes 25 years to write your first record.
Right.
And it was
Yeah.
all those emotions that I felt since I was 10,
Right.
that I put
Yeah.
on that record, and I just channeled it all. And then I said, okay, now I'm done. I'm good. I'm
Right.
good now. And I think as artists, we want to change each time. We want to
Yeah.
do something a lot different. So the whole thing was like, all right, I don't want to. I don't want to do the same thing I did on Styrofoam Pills. That was super
Yeah.
moody and headphoney, although it still is. And then by the time Your Heartbeat is Revolution came along, which I did 2018, I'm not sure if you heard that one, but that was kind of a combination of the two in,
Right.
in such a way, but still, reinventing yourself a little bit, but kind of combining those two records
Yeah.
into Your Heartbeat is Revolution. That's, you know,
I kind of feel like, I mean, that's, kind of wish I did that more, where like what you were just talking about, kind of being this character, but it's still you. I have a tendency to kind of repeat myself. I kind of feel like I could take each album and be like, oh, this song reminds me of that song in that album. But my wanting to change and evolve is like the rock and stuff, like, because the stuff I listen to is a lot of like heavier stuff, harder rock, and
yeah,
I kind of wish I could do that. So sometimes I kind of feel like, well, just be you and just be yourself. But I like that you are adventurous and brave enough to be like, no,
mhm.
let's do something different and branch out. I
Yeah,
kind of
and,
wish
and
I could
and
do that
actually,
more.
because you like Styrofoam Pills, maybe you'll listen to Sir Orkin and like, I liked when he was a sad bastard. I don't like this.
Right. No.
He's,
Yeah.
and that's the risk you take. But you
Yeah.
gain some, and you lose some, and
Right.
but I think a lot of times, Brett, if I can give you a little bit of a trick on that, is instrumentation.
Yeah.
Start with that,
Right.
because if you say, "Oh, I'm going to write my whole record on Farfista," on a farfista, and it's gonna, or like PJ Harvey is one to do that, like with her harp, and then the next time she's got a
All
saxophone,
over
and
the place. Yeah.
so I think that it's kind of like you go down to the record store, a guitar store, and you pick up a different guitar, and it feels different, and it
Yeah.
feels something different is going to come out of it. So that's kind of a trick that I've kind of used where,
Yeah.
on the first record, it was, keyboards and acoustic guitar. Sir Orchid was, experimenting with lap steel and
Right.
sitar and
Nice.
horns, you
Oh,
know.
cool.
And then by Your Heartbeat is Revolution, we had a lot of horns and a lot of electric guitars, and it was a
Yeah.
combination of the two. And yeah, experimented with horns quite a bit, and then just a little bit more of a Tom Petty, just straight ahead
Yeah.
songs
More
without
rock.
getting
Yeah.
too headphony and wild.
Right.
So try that.
Yeah.
Try
That's
like,
actually
I'm gonna learn the trumpet.
right.
You
Yeah.
know, and it'll
And then
take you.
just,
Chances are, it's gonna take you in a different space.
yeah, no, that's a great tip, because I know exactly what you mean. I mean, that's literally, you know, I do not feel comfortable playing electric guitar at all, but when I do, that's, I immediately just write different or just feel
Yeah.
different. And yeah, it just, or even like piano too. I wish I could play piano, but when I sit down and I noodle around, I'm like, I can tell already that would write completely different if I
Yeah.
just only played piano. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an experiment right there. And that's, I think the next Arthur Autumn record will be either, not to give away too much,
Yeah. Yeah.
but a lot of it is when things get moving a little bit more for Electric Moon, and my schedule gets a little looser. I want to get back to all the songs that are just stockpiled from stay at home waiting for me. So I think that next record will just be acoustic guitar, an organ, and a
Nice.
microphone, and hit
That's
record
awesome.
and something super sparse. Because I always
Yeah.
get excited, and I
Right.
and I say, oh, let's put a sitar on here, and let's do a Tibetan bells, and
I need more didgeridoos.
yeah.
Yeah.
But now this, man, I just want a dark room and a microphone and my buddy playing piano
That's
and
awesome.
just acoustic guitar and the song and track, whatever you get, and
Yeah.
that's it. And just restrain myself to be like, no, you're not putting anything on it.
Right.
That's it. So I think I'll strip it way back when I'm able to do that. But
That's cool.
yeah, I think a lot of times it's just, you know, picking different instrumentation, because that's
Yeah.
going to give you a different vibe, and also, limiting yourself too. Like if or giving yourself like, oh, dude, I'm just going to write everything on piano. Whether it's like maybe you'll have to just write the basics and then you get a real piano player to interpret them.
Right.
That's okay too. But it
Yeah.
came from Brett
Right.
Mitchell originally, and it's just going to develop with another piano player. So that might be a trick.
Yeah. I also was just thinking like collaboration too, like that obviously
Yeah.
opens up a whole, and I've never done that. And I think that might be my next like interest and step would be to collaborate, to kind of just open up, a whole new
Yeah.
style or avenue or approach, and maybe create something new, because I do kind of feel like I'm proud of the new album, and I'm happy with it, but like I said, I know that I do kind of recreate this same kind of vibe, and that's just what I do. But I definitely am hungry to kind of, like you were just talking about, the that character. I've never even tried to attempt to, think outside the box like that,
Yeah.
to just be like, oh yeah, maybe I'll do an album of just like, a completely different perspective
Yeah.
of
And
somebody, you
it's
know.
also, it forces you outside. It's what's a word I'm looking for? It's an experiment. Like
Yeah.
Sir Orchid was an experiment. I was very literal in saying I want to write in characters.
That's
Even
cool.
though I'm still there,
Yeah.
but I just want to try and create, Sir Orchid. And I'm trying to think. I haven't listened to record forever, man. I can't remember any of the other characters I created, but
You
they're in
don't
there. Train
don't
with
get
me.
too many layers going, and you'll just forget who you are, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like Jim
Wait,
Carrey. I
wait.
don't know. I'm confused. No, but I think
No,
that's
that's
kind
great.
of it's like a tool or a
Yeah.
experiment,
Yeah.
and it'll take you places where, like, I would love to write for a film. Like I
Right.
would love to have someone say, "Hey, man, can you write a batch of songs for this? I'm going to send the film to you, and can you see what you can come up with?" That's my dream gig. Like,
Yeah.
if you talk to any artist, so like, what band would you want to play guitar with, or what band would you want to play drums in? That to me is like a dream gig of someone saying, "Hey, man, interpret through your songs and your work how someone feels in this film," and it could be, you know, a little one who's fighting cancer,
Sure.
or whatever. You've got to channel those emotions. I would love that gig, because then it's a real experiment, because you're not taught. It's not about you. It's
Exactly.
about,
Right. Yep.
little Sarah who's going through a tough time and trying to
Right.
find the courage, whatever. I'm making up the film in my head. But
Right. There
anyway,
you go.
that
Yeah.
I would love that kind of gig, man. Is that something you'd want to do?
Yeah, that actually, right when you mentioned that, it made me think of, like, I always wanted to do like jingles. I know this is not what
Yeah.
you were talking about, but that concept of being able to just kind of approach it from a completely different standpoint, and not not necessarily not care, but like it's not really you or about you anymore. It's about this product or about, painting an atmosphere for a movie or a TV show or a commercial or something. Because I hear that all the time now in commercials where it's like this almost like this really sparse. You kind of like start to break it down. You're like, all that is like hand claps and foot stomps and like
Yeah. And it
snaps
sounds
or
like the Black
something.
Keys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that would be cool, to have a gig like that where you could just kind of focus on that kind of stuff. But yeah, film would be amazing to be able to like, experiment with atmospheres. I would like to do
Yeah.
like kind of like radio heady kind of things where it's just like
Sure.
this kind of atmosphere where it's not because I just have a tendency to write pop rock or pop stuff
Yeah.
and catchy stuff. It would be awesome to just kind of just go crazy with like an atmosphere kind of, you
You
know.
know what? That could be. We might have just touched on a learning tool, just to kind of sit down and trying to think of pull up Willy Wonka and
Yeah,
just watch the film and write to it.
yeah,
That's kind of that might be pretty interesting.
yeah.
Just take a film that you really dig. I mean, how do you feel about? I know it's well documented, talked about, but how do you feel about the Dark Side of the Moon and the Wizard of Oz? What's your theory
Oh
on that
yeah,
whole thing?
yeah. It's
It's
I mean,
wild.
I feel like you could probably do that with some other things, and especially depending on what party favors you were indulging in. I'm sure
Yeah,
plenty of other examples that could like happen. Yeah, I remember it's been forever since I've actually I can't
really.
but I do remember in high school or whatever. That was pretty crazy, and so on some parts you just like how wow and yeah. But that's a cool idea to kind of go to like play a movie and literally just put it on mute and
Somebody doesn't have to call you to do that. We can do that. We can.
right, yeah.
May not get into the on the big screen, but it's an exercise.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Do you
cool. I've
think
never
Pink
even.
Floyd deliberately did that with Wizard of Oz, or not a chance, or what do you think? Because some of that stuff is hauntingly spot on.
Yeah, I wonder. So yeah, I'm trying to think. Dark Side was what, like 73 or something, 72?
It's a good question. 75, I think.
Was it that late? Okay. Then
I could be
and
wrong.
then Wizard of Oz was like what, 1939 or something.
Yeah,
So they're probably, I don't know how old when that came out. Maybe they weren't born yet, but it's
yeah.
been on reruns and stuff. So I was just thinking like, was that something that they grew up with or whatever? But I don't know. It seems like that would be talked about or documented. Somebody would say,
Nobody's ever let
yeah,
on. I don't
but
think they've
yeah,
ever said yes or no. But
right.
if it's pretty spot on. I haven't watched it in a while. I mean,
Yeah, it's been
of
a
course
while.
now you can pull it up on YouTube and somebody's got it linked up to
Oh yeah,
Precision.
I didn't even think about that. Somebody's already got it ready to go.
Oh yeah, we used to
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
do the VCR or something, hit the play right in when the lion roared.
Yeah, yeah, the lion roar, that's what it was.
It was a
Yeah.
third lion
Something like
roar,
that.
right?
Yeah, I don't remember.
And then
I
what's
would,
trippy is when money starts, is when the bell on the bicycle. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And then well,
Anyway,
in the when it turns to color, I feel like there was some, I can't remember what song it was, but there was like this
yeah,
when they came out when she walked out and it was all colored, there was a moment there where you're just, oh my God, yeah.
yeah,
But
that's
yeah.
during money. I'm sorry. The bell comes on during I don't know. It's a great big gig in the sky. I don't know, but when the bell comes on in Dark Side of the Moon, time, the beginning of
Oh yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah.
she comes in on the bike with the bell,
Yeah, yeah.
and then money comes in when the jingle of money it turns to color. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Anyway,
now
hey,
it makes me
tell
want
me
to.
about your vinyl process. When are you getting that thing,
Oh man, that would I if I knew the answer to that, I would be a little
man?
bit more at ease. But I guess the last thing I just heard, it might be December, in mid-December. But
Okay.
I knew that it was going to take a while, even when because I got it done. I put the CD out in June, July, yeah. And I think I had it streaming a little bit before that, but then right around the time I got the CD done, I was doing the vinyl, and I knew that it was going to take a while. I think I knew it was going to be around like October or something like that.
Hmm.
But then all this started happening, the delays and stuff. And then So it's, I guess we're shooting, they're saying maybe mid-December, but at this point I have no idea. But I'm excited about it because, like we were talking about the artwork, to be able to have, an LP size of that. And
Yeah.
then I got it on Coke bottle, translucent Coke
Oh
bottle
wow.
color. So, in black sleeves, so you pull that out and it'll be kind of matching the album covers so many different colors, but
Yeah.
um that kind of aqua, that's one of my favorite colors, that like sea foamy kind of
Yeah.
color. So I'm excited for it to finally actually come. But yeah, I don't know, I'm not gonna get too excited about if it, when it's like, oh, mid-December, here it comes. I'm not gonna do that again, because I did that in October.
I've been there, brother. I know what it's
Yeah.
like.
Right.
How do you feel about that test pressing process?
Yeah, that was kind of weird. It seemed like I thought like each one would be the same, but it wasn't. So then it made me
Oh,
think like, well, which one are you gonna which one is it gonna be? And
yeah.
so yeah, I'm a little nervous, but I could only afford the very minimal amount. So, part of me kind of goes, well, if it isn't exactly what I wanted, I'll just go do it again. And when I get another couple $1,000,
Yeah.
whenever that happens.
It'll work out, man. No worries.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. I'm still excited about it, but my brain is also going like, don't get your hopes up, like I always do.
Yeah. Yeah, that test press process was tough for me.
Yeah,
Because I don't, once the record's done, man, I don't want to listen to it,
yeah, right,
and you have to listen to precision over and over. And you're the only one, the artist is the only one that I couldn't have my producer do it,
right,
really,
right,
because I know what I'm really listening for, you
right.
know?
Yeah,
And I guess a producer would be the closest one to do that, but I didn't want him to. But so you can't have someone else do it. I
yeah,
can't say, hey Brett, I can't stomach listening to myself. Can you listen?
right,
It just doesn't work that way
yeah,
because what you hear, if you hear a pop, I'm like, oh, that was a bass, that was a finger, and like, no,
right,
that was a bump in the groove,
right.
So
Well,
it's like,
and the other thing too is like, I know that a lot of people have a tendency, well, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but I see some people that when they kind of first get into collecting vinyl, listen to vinyl, they don't always have the greatest system to start out with.
yeah,
So I know I see a lot of people listening to like cheaper systems.
yeah,
So I have a feeling that because the
yeah,
the low end is a little bit hotter, and on my system it sounds okay. I know it's pretty present, but when you listen to like a cheaper system, I have a feeling that it might just be
sure.
distorted. Or so that's the only kind of thing that I'm a little worried about. But
Yeah, I actually had to go down to a record store and listen with headphones
yeah,
because I knew that their turntable wasn't gonna skip or do
right,
anything because you won't know if I'm listening to mine and it skips. Like, oh man, I got a problem here when it's like it's the player versus the record.
right,
So you have to get it onto a turntable that you know is tried and true.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
and decent speakers that can handle it too. I know that,
sure.
you know, so I have, some old 70s Pioneers that are really low end and kind of, on some stuff it sounds muddy. And then I have some newer, like from the 90s speakers that are a little
Yeah.
bit more punchy and MIDI. And so both of those together, it sounds okay. But some people, they might put that on a cheap chintzy little player and it would just be like, oh my God, this sounds like crap. But I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll see.
What's some of your give me your top what's in your record collection that you really really dig?
Oh man. Well, like I said, I just discovered this band called Man. They're Welsh, a Welsh band. The album's called Back into the Future, which I think is even funnier because it's 1973. So it's before the movie came out.
Oh wow.
And but as far as like what I've collected over the years in my prized possession, I'm a big Fat Boys fan. That was like my first
Oh yeah.
cassette
Fat Boy
tape when I was
Slim?
a kid. What's that? No, no,
Fat Boy
no.
Slim?
The Fat Boys, the hip hop group.
The Fat
Yeah,
Boys.
the like,
Oh right on.
you know,
Oh yeah.
beatboxing,
Yeah.
and they just rapped about food and stuff.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I have it. It's like a pizza box, and you open up the pizza box, and it's a picture disc of a pepperoni pizza, and
Really?
yeah, and then you flip, and the flip side is the crust and the like the order tag or whatever. So that's
Wow,
one of my prized possession. I have an
that's
old
great.
an Art Blakey Live at Birdland original Blue Note that's
Wow.
like worth a lot. I have two that I inherited. I feel guilty that I have these, but I inherited two Sabbath original Vertigo label uh Sabbath albums, the first album and then volume 4, and I think they're like worth like 200 or 250.
Wow.
And but I just, yeah, sometimes it's overwhelming. I like, if we were sitting down in my music room and we were going through, I could be like, here's this,
Yeah.
here's that, and I could pick it out. But like thinking about it, my brain, you know, there's so much that I could keep up here that I have to have it in front of me
Visual.
intangible. But
How many
um
how many records do you have, would you say?
I think I was flowing around like 1,000, like a little over 1,000, maybe
Oh,
like
wow, you got quite a
ele-
collection.
1,100, but that was probably at the beginning of the year. So maybe close to 1,200, maybe. Yeah.
You got quite a collection, man.
It's I'm happy with it. I'm at that point where it's just enough where when I'm down there and if I want to just dive in, I feel like I know where everything is. And most of it I listen to. I mean, there's some goofy stuff that I like to collect, like
Yeah.
demo albums from like the 50s and 60s. They're like, now if you turn your balance to the left, and then it's
Yeah.
like, then they play this like lush, like real, like over the top, like jazz stuff. And
Yeah.
there's stuff that I don't listen to, I know, but if I got any more like to the point where you're anywhere near like 2,000, I know people that have like 10,000. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
there's no way. I would just be a waste because I wouldn't get to it all, because I have to sit down, and a lot of times I will play
Yeah.
uh beginning to end depending on the
Yeah.
album. And so yeah, I'm happy with it, but I also have to like kind of force myself
Yes.
to be like, all right, slow down.
Yeah, that's quite a collection.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah,
Well, and
I
then living out in LA too, I'm sure I know how it is. Like you don't have a giant room to just have all your LPs either. So,
yeah, but you can always make room for records.
yeah, right.
I don't have quite 1,000. That's a very impressive collection. But I've got a pretty good amount. I like to collect just funky stuff too,
Yeah,
just by the cover. I'll
yeah,
give it a
sure.
chance. You know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've got some definitely. One of my favorites is probably I've got a what is it, Cat Stevens in the chocolate box, which
Oh
is pretty
yeah.
wild. It's like you open it up and
I forgot about that.
it's
Yeah.
actually like chocolate, the wrappers and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of a trip. Trying to think. I have to kind of look.
Yeah, I miss that. I mean, I guess they kind of do stuff for like record store day, but
Oh
like
yeah,
it seems like they used to have way more innovative like packaging like that. Like the faces ooh la la, where it's like you could make
yeah,
the guy talk or move his mouth. And or
yeah.
like the
Physical
Zeppelin.
graffiti.
Yeah, it's physical graffiti. I was just gonna say Zeppelin 3 had the wheel with the grommet, and you could change the
Oh right.
album cover, in which I'm sure they probably have reissues
I
of that with the
I
grommet in
do
it
have
now.
physical graffiti. That's in the Z's. That's over there. But
Yeah,
that one you the windows, right?
yeah,
The,
you can
the,
change it. Yeah, you
yeah,
can flip it, and I think
yeah.
maybe there's like famous people in it or something. Maybe I'm thinking of Some Girls by the
Sergeant
Stones.
Pepper's.
Yeah, because I
But
know
I think Zeppelin does. I think they've got a couple Indian gurus. I think in at least in one of the windows. I'd
oh
have to
right,
go get it, but I'm not going to right now.
right.
But I'm just trying to think who else is in the windows. I know there's the Sergeant Pepper's is all people. The
Yeah,
Stones are in there, and
yeah, like yeah, famous philosophers and artists.
Yogananda.
And,
Yeah, there's a
yeah,
whole bunch. Dylan's in there,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a resurgence of vinyl, and I
Oh
think the
yeah.
beautiful thing it's here to stay, which is amazing.
I
It's
think well I think that's going to be the legend and the story that survives. Like, if I mean, I feel like it's inevitable that it will kind of go back down, and maybe there'll be some new you know thing that they invent that's going to be the new thing or whatever. But
yeah,
I think that's exactly why vinyl is still what it is, and it survived as long as it has, is because CDs were cool. that you could fit a lot of information on them and stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously we all know that LPs can skip too, but it seemed like uh CDs were just, I don't know, that we just didn't take care of them as well or something. Like
Yeah.
we just, throw them in a pile, whatever. But it seems like, with vinyl and with records, people understand that it's also a piece of art, and it's like, there's a history, especially if it's original pressings and stuff. This was passed through how many different
Yeah.
people's hands, or maybe it stayed in one person's collection the entire
Yeah.
time.
I
And
think I
I
think the beauty is you could kind of teach a child. I had gotten a record for my niece a couple years ago, and it's vinyl is like the story of life, really, because
Yeah.
you have something physical to admire the artist,
Yeah.
or you have something substantial. You've got artwork that you can kind of take a look at, and then you have to get up and flip the record.
Yeah.
You have to engage, and then you have to be very gentle when you put the needle down on the record. You
Exactly.
have to care for it. You have to look
Right.
after it. And again, when the record stops, you got to get up and and flip it over. So
Right.
you have to be a part of that experience.
Exactly. And I
Forces
think
you to
that,
be.
yeah, and I think that is probably maybe why it had this big surge again, especially with younger people. Because there's people, I have a buddy that, he never stopped collecting. He
Yeah.
grew up in the 80s and 90s, and
Wow.
there was never a moment. And I remember I would kind of grab a few and buy a few, like in like late 90s or something, but I didn't have like a huge collection or anything. But
Yeah.
I remember when it kind of started being like a trend again. But I had friends and stuff that were like, yeah, I just never stopped. I just always continue to buy it. But
Great.
I think because maybe the younger generation, because they've grown up in this world of like, where is this music coming from? It's just
Yeah.
it's in the cloud or whatever. Now
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you're this is a new experience where you actually engage in the process of you playing the music rather than a algorithm or a robot or something.
Right.
And that, to me, that's the most important part for me of vinyl, is that it just becomes this immediate connection to the music,
Yeah.
that you're a part of it. And like you just said, if if you can listen to it straight through, and maybe it's background music or whatever, but if you're gonna play another album, you got to get up, and there's no machine, well, I guess jukeboxes, but there's
Yeah.
no machine or algorithm that plays, picks out a record for you and puts on
Yeah.
the next track for you. You got
Or
to
it's
do
like,
it.
hey man, you can flip it over later. It's like a pizza. You can put it in the fridge. You can save a little for later. It's all right.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, hey man, this has been a great combo. I wanted to talk to everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight. If you guys did, thank you so much. Want to talk about Live on the Moon, our very first Live on the Moon experience at Electric Moon with the Revel from New Jersey. They're coming to perform at Electric Moon on December 4th. That's going to be our first performance, live stream performance on the 3D VR stage. So we're pretty excited about that. Tickets will go on sale, I think, tomorrow, actually, with an announcement. So the Revel is a band from New Jersey, rock and roll outfit. They're coming up quick. I met them when they were on tour with Ours and did a show with them at the Viper Room. So we're honored to have them as our first Live on the Moon band. Songwriters Around the Moon is coming to Wing Walker Brewery in Monrovia. Got some great songwriters on the bill. Kathleen Marie, Alan Rigoletto, Rhiannon West, and myself will be performing. We're pretty excited about that. And then we've got a very big Black Friday sale coming up, 25% off all music lessons and workshops. So we want to extend the gift of music to inspire the ones coming up. Maybe having a hard time at school or bullying, that sort of thing, and they can become artists like Brett and songwriters and that sort of thing. So we want to inspire them, and we're going to be having a big sale coming up for Black Friday. And I think that's about it for now from the Electric Moon. Brett, have you got some shows to tell the people about coming up, or what's happening?
Oh, well, I don't know, who's all tuning in and stuff. but
Hopefully, we got some Michiganders.
yeah, there's some Michiganders in there somewhere. I think the next gig, couple gigs coming up. I play beginning of December in Ludington at a Ludington Bay Brewing. I think that's December 3rd. And then Shorts Brewing Company in Bel Air, my right down the street from where I live.
Great.
Full band December 17th. No, that's BMO's. Yeah. December 17th. Yeah.
Right on.
December 17th at Shorts. Uh I'm horrible at that. Like I have to actually look at my calendar to
Likewise.
remember. Yeah.
I had to
But
really think about those dates really hard.
yeah. But not to end the whole shebang on a bummer note, but a lot of stuff is slowing down. So, full band gigs, not as much, but solo stuff, I'm still kind of trucking along. But you
Slowing
know,
down as in with the pandemic concerns or what?
yeah, or just the winter time is always slower for me. But
Yep.
it's harder some places it's harder to keep a consistent schedule because some places are either canceling music, or some places don't want to pay what you ask or what
Sure.
you're worth and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's just but I know that it'll perk back up in the springtime. And
It will.
so, but I'm actually thinking about a couple different things that keep me busy through the winter, and one of them is
Great.
recording like a cover album, just working on
Great.
just something to keep me busy. So maybe I'll have something for the spring.
Great.
But
You got any titles of anybody you want to cover off that you want to share? You want to keep it tight-lipped?
well, I do my own version of Borderline by Madonna.
Nice.
uh I do I do some Neil Young and some Beck.
What do you do by
kind
Beck?
of all over the place. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember when your first album there, I was
Oh,
like reminded me a lot of Beck. And
wow.
like Mutations is like one of my favorite albums of all time. And
You change. Whew.
yeah, Sea Change. Oh my God, yeah. But yeah, I'm my stuff is kind of all over the place, but yeah, I just thought of something to keep me busy through the winter would be cool. But
Great.
yeah.
Keep me posted on that, and I'll be visiting. I'll be in Michigan for a little visit. December 16th. We ought to
Oh
try
yeah,
to get together or something maybe.
that would
Maybe
be
collab.
awesome. Yeah, through
Yeah.
through through the holiday season there.
Yeah, I'll actually be there for New Year's Eve this year, which I haven't
Oh, nice.
in since I've been out here. I've always, come back for New Year's, but yeah,
Yeah, I
so
wondered
get
that
a couple weeks.
how often you came back.
Uh,
Mhm.
once I mean, Studio Tone will play like a holiday show. We're not able to do that this year because everything going on, but we didn't last year, obviously. But so Christmas season, I think the only other time I went back was something for my niece, and then to record to Orchid with Andy.
Oh
So it's
wow,
usually typically
it's
every
been a while.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the last time was 2018 for Christmas, 2019.
Oh,
I
oh,
couldn't last year
how
because of
good
the
would
pandemics
it
the year
be to
before.
relive 2018 again? Can we
What
go
is
back
it?
to 2018? Actually, no, we don't want to go back, because then we
No,
lived through we lived
easy
through
now,
that.
Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
easy
yeah,
now.
no, that would be awesome if we could make that happen. That would be very cool, because this is awesome, but I want to give you a hug and
Yeah,
bring it in, give you a handshake.
yeah. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
Hug.
We'll make it happen
Yeah,
someday.
man,
And
that would
and
be
I would
wonderful.
and on the same note, would love to come out to the sunny California someday. I've
That'd be
only been
great,
out there
man. Always got
once.
stuff. Always got stuff cooking, man. My
Cool.
stage is your stage.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be
Appreciate that.
incredible.
Cool.
Well, this has been amazing, Brett, and I think we could talk records and things and songs all night. But
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for coming on. Like I said, man, it's no fluff. I'm a huge fan, and I love watching your songs grow, and they're really great, man. They're really really great, and you inspire a lot of folks. Just so you know that, and just
Um,
keep doing what you're doing, and I love it. I'm a huge
Thanks,
fan.
man. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Honored.
All right, I'll see you down the road, buddy.
All right, sounds good, brother.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. You can find Brett Mitchell everywhere for the most part. His record is out now. We're waiting on the vinyl. Can't wait to get it. Keep your ears tuned. And good night from Arthur Autumn. Good night for Brett Mitchell. Take a bow. Everybody be good. Be kind. We'll see you next
Cheers.
time.
Thanks.
Bye, guys. See
See
you.
ya.